Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from this morning. Get your questions in. Let us know what you're drinking as well. The chat already very lively this morning, it looks like. But first, before we get into some of the chat, guys, let's talk about injuries, unfortunately. And Bobby, I'm going to kick it over to you.
Not Jack injuries, but injuries, right?
Yeah.
As far as the team is concerned. A couple of news and notes. One big one. Yesterday, it was revealed that Michael Taft, starting safety, potential All-American for the University of Texas, had thumb surgery on Monday, is likely out for the Mississippi State game. There's some thought that he might be out all the way until Georgia. CJ Vogel reporting that. We'll see what that timeline looks like. As a reminder, Steve Sarkisian goes and puts in a press report later today about injury availability. That'll come around 7 o'clock tonight. I do believe that Taft is probably going to be out for this game. Beyond that, I'm not sure. We'll also be looking for the updates on two other starters for the Longhorns. Cole Hudson, the center, is expected to still miss some time, but we'll see if he gets better soon enough. The original timeline was hopefully by Vanderbilt, maybe by Georgia for him. Let's see what happens there. Next, the other one that I think everybody is waiting on as well is C.J. Baxter. I'm told he was back at practiced more than ever on Monday and Tuesday in the last 3 or 4 weeks. We'll see if that actually means he's getting ready to go and be a potential weapon for Steve Sarkisian in the inside run game, as well as in pass protection, Jerry and Blake, and that's the big one. One of the things I want to mention, though, Jerry, if we can talk about it now, is who is going to replace and how are they going to replace Michael Taft in the lineup?
Yeah, I think obviously, Michael Taft being out, is that similar to Cole Hudson being out? He's the communication leader for this defense. He is the guy that ties it together in a lot of ways. That doesn't mean he wears the helmet comm, right? But he is the communication guy on the back end of this defense. He's kind of the eyes for the coaches in a lot of ways. So who is going to take over that communication role, and will Jeff Lebby attack that person and attack that replacement and see where the communication's at in the back end in a different way? I think that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Look, I think Derek Williams could be a really good find in this game against Mississippi State, the way they're going to try to run the football, I think, on Texas. So I think Texas missed Derek Williams' physicality last year against the run in some of those games. You could probably look at Georgia and Ohio State, because he is really good against the run. He's a physical downhill guy. But the question becomes, when you lose Michael Taft, what is your communication like on the back end? Now, it's easy to say, well, they have a lot of experience with Manny Muhammad and Jalen Gilbo and now Jelani McDonald around it. But what does that communication look like when you lose the guy that was kind of the person that was over getting everything set up? Will that create any confusion, any busts, anything Saturday, next couple of games? I think that's something to watch. I think in run support, I think Texas will be fine, right? And I think there's some things Derek Williams can bring, maybe somebody else can bring, right, that are different. But it's going to be the communication part and just being around the football. Taft's going to be around the football, whether the play's made or not. He's going to be around in the right spot a high percentage of the time.
Yeah, and I think you're bringing up the point that I would make is that Mississippi State, it's the Art Briles offense. They try to pound it inside between the tackles, and then they throw deep with speed. And they have two speed guys, both transferred, one from OU via Texas and Brennan Thompson, we're very familiar with. He had a walk-off touchdown against Arizona State, essentially. That was a big, long, deep ball that they just threw it up, and he ran under it, and nobody could catch him. He's a 10-2, 100-meter sprinter. He is smaller, so he's not going to help much blocking on the outside. And that's one of the reasons they run inside with those guys. And then the other, Jerry, and you mentioned this yesterday, is Anthony Evans, a young man out of Converse Judson originally, went to Georgia, but he also has that 10-2 speed.
Yeah.
And so whether it's Jelani McDonald or Derek Williams in the secondary at safety, one of those two is going to be challenged deep to deep and not come off their coverage and run up and cover the run inappropriately. If that happens, Texas could Mississippi State could have a big day with big plays, not just running the football, and that is a problem. I think that Texas wants to know. My question to you, Jerry, where does Texas go after that at safety? Because another injury note, Xavier Filsaime.
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks. We'll see if he's out again this week. That means the next man up is Jordan Johnson-Rebel at safety, and then possibly Jonah Williams. Texas has, and I'll say this, Texas has substituted liberally this year. You're going to do that against this team with freshmen and sophomores? Maybe difficult task if you don't get off the field more than Texas got last year. Another interesting aspect of this game that I think we all agree with, Jeff Levy likes to play keep away. He likes a ball-controlled offense. And guess what? Pete Kwiatkowski loves a bend but don't break defense. So those two things tie together. We'll have to see how it all works. But I would hope that we may see a little change up at times from Pete Kwiatkowski this week and not just play bend but don't break. That would I think that would be a welcome addition to the game plan, because I don't think Texas can do that against Mississippi State. They just played 86 plays against Kentucky the previous week, and they're down people.
To your point, Texas was a much, much better team than Mississippi State was last year. Obviously, Arch Manning had a big day. Trey Wisner at 13 for 88. But to your point, Bobby, Mississippi State in that game last year ran 73 plays to Texas 62 in Austin. Yep. And people remember that game. Daniels and Booth, the two running backs, had 33 carries in that game. They had like 135, 140 yards. I'm pulling it back. So 134. 33 for 134 last year in that game. That was a true freshman quarterback, by the way, Van Buren, who's now the backup at LSU. But they ran 73 plays to 62 in Austin last year. And after last week, the 81 plays in regulation the Texas defense ran, it can't be that type of number, to your point, Bobby. So I do think we're going to have to see a little more aggressiveness, because what you don't want is 2 weeks in a row being on the road playing 75 to 80 snaps on defense.
And you got Vanderbilt coming next weekend, who's done nothing but run the ball up and down the field on people, basically. Yeah. So you got a little self-preservation here. I just think Texas needs to have a little change up from it in its approach, not only on offense. We know they have to have that on offense, by the way. I mean, that goes without saying, but on defense as well. Hey, before we go further, we got more things to talk about. Need to tell everybody about our friend Adam Lowy over at the Lowy Law Firm. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, and think you might be due compensation, reach out to Adam and his group, LowyLawFirm.com, for a free, no-strings-attached consultation. Again, that's LowyLawFirm.com. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, or automobile accident of any kind and think you might be due compensation, reach out to them, LowyLawFirm.com. Thank you, Adam, for your ongoing sponsorship of On Texas Football.
Well, something that came out yesterday, fellas, while we're talking about injuries, is A&M got fined yesterday by the SEC for what the SEC says was faking an injury. They fined A&M $50,000, if I remember correctly, and then they put out this statement. But it's kind of curious to get y'all's thoughts on that whole ordeal.
My thought is, A&M faked an injury. They're $50,000. Hitting the pocketbook, no big deal. But we knew they did this last year and every other year since Mike Elko's been there. I mean, even when he was just a defensive coordinator, they did this. Trying to play on the gray area of the rules. Lane Kiffin did it worse than anybody at Ole Miss. The point here is these are the new ramifications for doing that. First is a $50,000 fine. Second is a $100,000 fine. If there is a third, the head coach loses a game. The head coach is actually suspended for a game. So, A&M doesn't want to do that again, would be my guess, because then you're one away from losing your head coach for a game. Not that the defense at A&M has been any great shakes. I mean, they gave up 42 to Arkansas last week.
So what you're saying is they have one more chance to do it before this year, which they probably will try.
Yeah,
right?
no doubt.
I mean, look, Michigan wins a national title and gets fined $20 million. So it's like,
yeah.
I mean, at some point they'll take a risk again because it's a $100K fine. And what's that if you make a college football playoff and that wins you the game somehow?
Yeah.
Well, every time.
Look, I mean, that was one of the worst things going. That on field, I felt like that was the worst thing that was hampering the game, was faking injuries. So they got that out of the way.
Yes.
What is the next thing you think they need to do away with on the field? No, I'm not talking about NIL and all that other stuff. I'm talking about improving the game itself. What would improve the game itself?
I'll tell you the biggest one right now. Somebody smartly in the chat brought up a few weeks ago. There needs to be live look-in with the replay discussions.
Yeah.
In the SEC and every conference. That, I think, for the fans, that should be number one. I think it's become number one for me because I'm just looking at the SEC and some of these reviews and calls this year, and it's just – and it started with the LSU Clemson game. I'm not saying that was SEC, but I think there needs to be live audio of these guys discussing the ruling.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. I loved it when I heard it.
Happen.
Yeah, the ACC did it very early this year, and I was like, holy cow, this just brings a whole – this is no offense to Dean Blandino and Mike Pereira, but that's like my least favorite part of any broadcast,
right?
Is hearing those guys pontificate about this is good, this is not good. You know, it's not worth the time you spend on it. But if you actually hear from the people making the decisions in the moment, that's really valuable programming.
Because
is that a change on the field? Like a bigger change on the field to me, Jerry. It's not just hearing people. I'm talking about things like this. How about no reviews unless it's challenged on the field? Like this automatically going to review for things. NFL doesn't do that unless it's a turnover. Now, all turnovers can be. I would rather them go to the NFL version of reviews because I think there's too many. I mean, look, Seth McGowan may or may not have fumbled on a 3-yard pass. Okay. But it took 4 minutes to get to that decision on a 3-yard pass. That's just that ruins the timing of the game, in my opinion.
LL says get rid of the 2-minute timeout.
I like that. So it's very NFL-like.
Jeff Carey says substitution delay, where you get a delay delay rule. Interesting.
Maybe. I feel like they too often interrupt the game and the flow of the game with reviews.
That's fine. I think the biggest issue for me in sports right now, and I think and I might be wrong. I think I speak for a lot of fans, is with gambling being so prevalent now. We have got NBA players going down for gambling on games. We have got college athletes going down for gambling. It's hard to trust all the reviews for people. Hey, Auburn fans right now think something's going on. It's hard to trust what you're seeing and believing right now. And I think just having the transparency in the review is probably the audio is probably number one, because then people, no matter which way the call goes, that ends the discussion of transparency and what's going on in the booth, right?
I agree. I'm good with that.
I think timeout by Kirby.
My point is, I think there could be multiple things.
Yeah.
And if it's an egregious mistake and they want to step in on something, that's fine. But they're not stepping in on egregious mistakes.
Right.
They're stepping in and then it's not a mistake.
It may be time to get Tom Luganbill, our buddy who's ACC ESPN. It may be time to get Tom on here and talk about his thoughts on that, covering ACC games maybe, and what he thinks about some of that moving forward. Because I mean, he lives it every week covering the ACC for ESPN. Might be something interesting. Might have some good thoughts on that. Hey, I got a question for the chat.
What you got?
Because what was lost in offensive ineptitude over the weekend was, and Chad, I just want everybody's opinion. And I brought it up on ontexasfootball.com, but again, it's just not a discussion point. But in sports, and we're all sports people because we're here. I don't want to say sports fans or some that are rabid fans, but sports people. What Shohei Ohtani did the other night in a closeout game, just as an athlete, pure athlete standpoint, we've never seen anything like it, in my opinion.
I don't know. 2005 Rose Bowl sounds pretty good to me.
Well, a guy that was throwing 100 miles an hour on the mound and had off speed, he had 6 other pitches to go with it that make Greg Maddux blush late breakers. And then he hits 3 home runs. We've never seen anything like it in sports, period. Like Vince Young didn't turn around and play free safety and pick off 3 passes.
I hear you.
That was Michael Griffin and Michael Huff. And like, have in the chat, is there any feat in a sport that is close to that? And I came up with Tiger Woods at the U.S. Open in 2000. That's over 4 days, though. When you win a golf tournament by 15 and you're 12 under and everybody else is 3 over and it's the best players in the world. But again, that's over a 4-day period. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anything like what that happened. I mean, in the moment, in a game like that, you strike out the side to start the game, then you hit a 430-foot home run. Then you hit one out of the stadium after hitting 100 miles an hour. You hit it out of the freaking stadium. It's like 50-50 guy. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's doing. So I just wanted to ask the chat, does anything come to your mind that's close to that in sports? I've never seen anything like that. Like, he's a total freak show of freaks.
I would just say this. I don't think we've ever seen anything like it in baseball. Like when I was growing up, Reggie Jackson had the 3 home runs in the World Series. I remember that. And to have 3 home runs and 10 strikeouts, that's dominating a game. Charles Woodson had the punt return, played offense and defense. Yeah, I mean, there's some things like that. Look, in a single game performance, which is really what you're talking about, his greatest single game performances, I think Vince Young stands up there with just about anybody's. And I'm not talking, I know he didn't play defense, but what you're really talking about with Ohtani is not a 4-day run like Tiger Woods. You're talking about
that's what I'm saying,
single game dominating performance. And y'all tell me another single game more dominating performance than Vince Young had in the Rose Bowl. I don't think we've seen one. Yeah, that's my opinion. Now, not on a football field, at least.
Yeah, in college football, he's right there.
I mean, look, I was in the press room after the game, the Rose Bowl game, and I asked Pete Carroll. He goes, I asked him, have you ever had one player dominate your defense like that? He looked at me and he goes, I mean, he literally was thinking to himself, and he just kind of went, Dan Marino?
Well, that's what Pete Carroll always said.
Young was that night.
That's what that Longhorn Frenzy. That's actually up there in sports, but that's what Pete Carroll said. The only way his USC team was going to lose was an otherworldly performance, and that's what happened against them was an otherworldly performance.
Yep, I agree.
I got a comment I wanted to read from Dawson Yarbrough. He says, just received my new OTF cap in the mail. The handwritten greeting from Bobby and Jenny absolutely made my day. Have a great day, OTF.
Hook 'em, Dawson. Glad you like it, man. Glad you like it.
And if you want to get your own OTF hat, you can go to shop.ontexasfootball.com or use the QR code on the screen. So thank you, Dawson, for that note. Good stuff. And then let's see here. Another thing I wanted to bring up, this comment to kind of give us a segue. This is going to be a very evenly matched ball game on Saturday, says Dave Atchley. Mississippi State lost in overtime to Tennessee 41-34 earlier this season. And Jerry, you put in the research on this, and I turned it into a graphic, but I thought we could take a look at how these two teams stack up.
Yeah, so somebody in the chat brought up one thing on Mississippi State that it doesn't show up in stats, and I can't remember who said it about Mississippi State and that kind of the slower pace, lower possession game, which Bobby and I alluded to. Mississippi State's running 5.5 more plays per game this year than last year. So Jeff Lebby has more confidence in his offense this year, but we'll see how that pace of play is Saturday, right? A lot may depend on how the game is going for Mississippi State. But again, we're going into another game where Mississippi State does not stop the run. They are 14th out of 16 in the SEC in rush defense.
Does that even matter?
Does that even matter? That's going to be the question Saturday, because it has to matter Saturday, because it didn't matter against Kentucky. It has to matter Saturday. And then Mississippi State, I mean, they can really run the football, and they're going to test Texas run defense. I mean, it's 8th in the conference, but we'll see if Fluff Bothwell plays. That's who I'm looking for on their injury report tonight, because while the other backs, Booth, they're good players at Mississippi State, Bothwell's a stud that jumped in the portal from South Alabama. He's from Oneida, Alabama. He's like 5'10", 235, but with great feet. So that one will be interesting to me. But again, Texas is facing another team that has not stopped the run this year really well. And what's that going to look like Saturday for Texas? It's got to look better than it gets Kentucky.
Won't look anything unless you run inside.
Yep.
I mean, because you're just not going to you're not going to be able to run outside on a lot of teams, and if they decide to blitz Arch, you're just not going to be too many guys at the line of scrimmage. It takes too long for that play to develop. Look, here's the reality with Mississippi State. They're 0-3 in conference.
Yep.
Now they have a non-conference win against Arizona State that is really good. That's a good non-conference win. It's a good non-conference win for the SEC, by the way.
Yeah.
And not just Mississippi State. But they lost big to A&M in excuse me. How about that was Florida. They lost to Tennessee 41-34 in overtime at home.
Yeah.
They lost to Florida 21-23 at Florida last week. Those are two very, very tight games against teams that are similarly talented to Texas at this point. Florida and Tennessee both have big-time talent. Mississippi State is playing a good brand of ball. They are just not winning the games at this point.
Yep.
So they're looking at Texas as, hey, we got to get over the hump. They haven't – Mississippi State did not win a conference game last year either. So – and it wasn't –
They've lost 15 in a row.
Yeah, they've lost 15 conference games in a row. But Jeff Lebby, they have improved year over year.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Texas has not improved year over year, in my opinion. I think everybody would agree with that. So we're looking at a team that has been improving to a team that is struggling to find its identity. And the one with the identity issues are the Texas Longhorns right now. That's the lineup of this game. So.
What's interesting is I may have to go back and watch the A&M Mississippi State game on a condensed ESPN or something, because A&M ran for 299 yards on Mississippi State. 299. That is a massive number in a conference game. They have 50 carries for 299 in that game. Now they're a little more physical downhill run scheme too, but I'm going to go back and watch that today and see how they did that. How they got that done, because nobody else has ran the ball as effectively. I think Tennessee had about 135, and Jaden Ball is a tremendous player. So Florida's going to run it on anybody except Miami. It looks like this year they're going to have enough success because Jaden Ball is really good and the interior of the offensive line is good. But A&M put up a huge rushing number on Mississippi State in that 31-9 loss, but for the Bulldogs. But I think Mississippi State's a lot better football team. I'd watch some of that Arizona State. I mean, Sam Levitt had his worst career game in Starkville, like easily his worst career game in Starkville, and he's a good player, obviously. But top linebacker is suspended the first half of this game from a targeting. Their best safety has been in and out. He played last week. ASU did run for 251. That's Coach Empty, and Levitt just had an awful game. But it'll be interesting to see where Mississippi State's health report is. Smith, their safety, he came back and played last week. Hadn't been 100% for a while. So we'll see what shows up on their injury report. But their best linebacker is suspended the first half for targeting of this game.
Well, Bobby, before we move on, I'm going to let you tell everyone about one of your favorites. That's Kirby Lane.
Yeah, I love it. Kirby Lane All Day Cafe has been an Austin institution since 1980, celebrating 45 years with the local vibe and late night pancakes you know and love. I had a few too many of those in college, by the way. Now dinner is where they're raising the bar. Bold, chef-driven entrees like steak frites and Mediterranean chicken, their famous queso, and shareable plates, plus a full line of gluten-free options. And the bar, stocked with craft cocktails that deliver. Kirby Lane is the Austin original for a night out with real flavor. Check the full dinner lineup tonight at KirbyLaneCafe.com. KirbyLaneCafe.com.
And I'm going to tell everyone about a couple more of our sponsors, one of those being AG1. Used to every morning I'd wake up, I'd take a bunch of vitamins, a whole bunch of supplements. That obviously took a long time. That all changed when I heard about AG1. It's something I've actually been using for over a year now. It's a daily foundational nutrition in one drink. Pretty much every nutrient you can think of is in AG1 with 5 probiotic strains, 75 plus vitamins and minerals. AG1 Next Gen replaces the need for a multivitamin, probiotics, and much more. Like I've told you, I got my son Colt hooked on it. He drinks it every morning before football practice. We both use AG1 all the time, and we can both tell you that we have more energy. We have better digestive support. A great wellness routine all starts with your gut, and AG1 is the way to go. It's not just another supplement. It's a daily micro habit that supports whole body health in one scoop. And now they have a couple different flavors as well, so you can find one that you love. Currently, I'm drinking the berry flavor. That's what I'm on this week. So head to drinkag1.com/ontexas to get a free welcome kit. They're going to give you a bottle of vitamin D and a free AG1 travel pack when you first subscribe. That's drinkag1.com/ontexas. I want you to know about Prize Picks as well, because we make decisions daily, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. And Prize Picks is very simple to play. You're just going to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get those picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. It's the best way to get in on sports action in more than 40 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and of course, right here in the great state of Texas. And this week, I have A&M quarterback Marcel Reed over 220.5 passing yards. And then I'm taking John Mateer under 249.5 passing yards, along with Arch Manning to have under 214.5 passing yards. So come join me on those picks or make your own in less than 60 seconds. Turn your sports opinions into real money. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code ONTEXAS to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code ONTEXAS to get $50 in lineups after you play that first $5 lineup. And that's Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
I had one of our friends text me and said that he's having a little more fun with Prize Picks than he thought he would. Trying to figure out little, what parlays or what do they call those where you kind of do a couple of different picks at the same time and then track it throughout the day. He's having fun with that.
Yeah, it's good stuff for sure. Well, someone else that likes to have fun, Bobby.
We need some oatmeal cream pies right now, Tony.
What's up, Tony?
What's happening, family? How y'all doing this lovely morning, man?
Doing good. What'd you think of that offensive line performance on Saturday?
Oh man, I thought it was excellently terrible. Absolutely, excellently terrible. Listen, man, we said it before. We'll say it again, man. I'll start with this. First, there's ego and pride, and then there's the fall. That's my theory, right? And the reason why I say that is this. Would you guys say that Kentucky's defense was better or worse than Oklahoma's?
Oh, worse.
Okay. Worse.
Would you say that in the second half of that Oklahoma game, that we pretty much had our way up front with them in the second half? The second half.
Yes.
Okay. So would you say that the sequence of that could be repeatable if we came back and simplified things and went out and executed the same style of game plan?
Yes.
That
what
has to be. That's the Texas' best chance to win.
Okay. So then the question becomes, why is Sark so afraid? I don't want to say afraid. Why is he so against keeping things simplistic? If you know that it works, you didn't even give it. Like, if you're doing something in business, there's a thing called data testing, right? You put things into the market, you allow the market to tell you the information, and then you go back, you tweak it a little bit, but you keep the same foundation of what's working. I saw none of that last week. So everything that happened in that game, once I started seeing that we weren't even attempting to run the football, mind you, we had successful plays in the run game. The run game is a war of attrition battle. So if you run the ball a couple of times and you're stopped, you get 2 yards, you get a yard, you get a negative. That's okay. That's a part of the game until the running back can find the rhythm. Trey Wisner has already shown that he's a better running back later in the game because he starts to see the holes and he starts to have cutback lanes and hit downhill. Even the successful plays that we had where he picked up 5, 6, 7 yards, one of them, the hole was so big that he stumbled into an 8-yard gain. So it's like, we can keep blaming the offensive line. You got to execute. I'm not taking anything away from you. But at some point, when do we start looking at ourselves as a coaching staff and say, guys, look, this team is this. We have to be fine with that. We hang our hat on special teams and defense. And as long as we can put up 20 points a game and control the clock, because that's the type of offense that we have, hit a splash play, break a tackle, one of those type of things, and play in continuity, we have the ability to go far. But if you're not going to make that adjustment, I'm going to tell you right now, Texas fans, y'all going to be in for a long emotional roller coaster ride. That's my thought process.
I agree. I mean, I thought that the game plan against, or I shouldn't say the game plan, but yeah, I should. I mean, 3rd and 3, and you're running a double reverse pass on the first drive of the game. Thought it arrogant comes to mind as a word. A little bit, like, I don't want to say disrespectful to the opponent, but maybe thinking that you're better than you are comes to my mind. I would say this, though, Tony, and I wanted to focus on one aspect of the offensive line. Actually, there's two, but the first one, running inside. That 8-yard gain that you just described to Trey Wisner was between the tackles.
Yeah.
Okay. Most of the runs against OU came on stretch plays or outside zone. Okay. Wisner is not necessarily a inside zone runner. He hasn't been historically. He's looked for creases and angles. Is that part of the consternation that Steve Sarkisian has right now? If you take away the outside zone, like they did at Arizona against Arizona State a year ago, that Wisner's not the guy to get it done between the tackles, per se. What are your thoughts?
Well, I would rebuttal that in the games that we did play, i.e. Michigan, where we did have outside zone, but we were very heavy inside zone that game with the same back. I don't think the thing is Wisner is not capable. I believe the thing is you're not giving him the opportunities to truly show you what he can do. Because you look at the game and we talk about, okay, well, you gave him 22 carries against Oklahoma. He almost goes for 100 yards, and his longest run was an inside zone play. Like, you're not giving him the carries. Like, backs are rhythm creatures. They have to be able to get into the flow of the game and start to see things. Like the play that you talked about with the double reverse pass, that double reverse pass worked in favor on the defense. We were playing 12 on 11 at that point because you literally have schemed up something that killed the momentum of how we were driving the football. So I believe that Wisner, I understand that his body type is not able to take the pounding, and maybe that could be some sort of an issue as it pertains to pitch count. But then if that's the case, then why aren't you giving these young players an opportunity to go out there and show and prove what you can do? And in this NIL era, Bobby, I believe that that's one of the things that's hurting college football the most. There are young players that Jamal Charles comes to mind, right? Ramonce Taylor comes to mind. So how do you know that you have a special player? How do you know that a Jamal Charles or Ramonce Taylor can be special on this next level? We saw what they did in high school, but how do you know that they can be special on this next level if you're not giving them a chance? Why are you not giving some of the other backs a chance? The young kid, was it Clark?
Yep.
Why is this kid not getting an opportunity? All he's done every time he's gotten in the game has got positive yardage. So I definitely think that us not having our power back due to injury is problematic. But at the same time, you don't know what you have unless you give it an opportunity to perform in front of the game. And here's my thing. What do you have to lose? With this offense, giving other guys, young guys, an opportunity, what do you have to lose? Because at this point, we're missing wide open crossing routes. The time that we are open, the receivers might not catch the ball. You got balls being thrown behind people. Like, what do we have to lose? And I think for me is there's an extreme amount of lack of identity with this offense. You don't know who you are. And you're expecting to not have an identity, go and do the same things that you've been doing and expecting a different result. And to me, that is the proverbial saying of insanity.
Because and here's why, Tony, this is why I thought it was arrogant, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You thought you didn't think Kentucky, the opponent, was good enough. That you could go back to revert to something that you saw against a Sam Houston State or a San Jose State.
Yes.
And you thought you were better and you could then win that way as opposed to the way you won against Oklahoma.
Yes.
All right. So that my next question for you. And I'm sorry to interrupt you. I know you're
No, you're fine. You're good.
I don't like interrupting Tony Hills because he's the best.
No, you're good, man. Because I go on the soapbox.
Second issue. I mentioned inside run. Pass protection.
Yeah.
Absolutely
terrible.
Horrible.
Terrible.
So what's going on there based on your thought process and what you've seen?
You're one-dimensional. You're one-dimensional. And when you become one-dimensional, if I don't have to respect your run, then I can do whatever I want to do defensively because there's nothing that I can call. And then the reality is this too. Not only are you one-dimensional, you're one-dimensional and you're not even executing on the opportunities when the pass protection is good, right? So what would happen is you have a situation where Arch creates, there's a little bit of pressure, Arch creates, and then he hits a guy for 15, 20 yards. In a defensive coordinator's mind, it's like, okay, let me throw that one out the window. I can't take that strike again. So maybe that alleviates the blitz pressure, right? But what happens is that at this particular time, I can get home any way I want to. I watched one play, they rushed three pass rushers and there was pressure. It's terrible. Like the offensive line has to do better. But once again, yes, they have to block better, but there's no identity. On this play, I'm running a double reverse. On this play, I'm running outside zone. On the next play, we're running swing screens in the backfield with a play that's starting 3 yards behind the line of script. We have no identity. So there's a lack of execution. There's a lack of consistency in pass protection. There's a lack of consistency in the run game. There's a lack of consistency in the quarterback play, and there's a lack of consistency in the play calling. You explain to me what offense is going to be successful.
And Tony, and I think there's the other piece to that is 2 road games in SEC, and Texas hasn't been the most physical, not defensively.
Yeah,
the offense has not been physical enough in those games either.
No, but
that's perimeter
Jerry,
blocking.
quick, let me ask you a question.
Blocking, and that's all of it.
Let me ask you a quick question, Jerry. If we're calling plays that are extremely passive, how do we then dominate and place our physicality on a defender? Yeah. If I'm a tackle that wants to get after the dude in front of me and you got me running on swing screens, how do I be physical? This is the reason I talk about they're a north, south, tight, wide, inside, outside zone team. Just run that. And now let me evaluate your physicality. I can't evaluate it. But go ahead.
No.
So no, that's a good point. It's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard to evaluate.
It's extremely frustrating to watch, to see that we have, when we put Robinson in at a center that's 315 pounds, it's extremely frustrating to watch that we have over 700 plus pounds on both sides, excluding the center, and you want to run swing screens. and then say, I got to do a better job play calling. No, this is what you got to do. Do the thing that makes sense. Put 1,500 pounds on the defensive line for 4 quarters, and then let me evaluate your offense. I already saw it done. Everything that I was saying prior to Oklahoma, this team is this. This is what they do. This is where their success is going to come from. They did it one time, took the entire third quarter, put up 10 points, gave us a 20-point plus lead, or put up, 16 points in all because we scored on a punt return. So 13, 14 points, took all of the clock away, and our defense went nuts. Why is that not your formula for success? 4th and 1 goal line stands, multiple sacks. They're giving interceptions. They're giving you everything, and you're giving them nothing because of your ego, and it's frustrating. And this is my problem with quote-unquote offensive gurus. I am a huge Bill Belichick fan because Bill Belichick says, oh, you guys suck on the left side of your defense when it comes to run. I'm going to run a whole different formation and run that way. Oh, you guys can't pass. You guys are not good in pass defense. I'm going to throw this ball. We're going 5 wide this week, and I'm spreading it out, and I'm throwing it all over the field. Oh, you guys can't stop the run. I'm going heavy package with tight ends and linemen, and we're running this ball up your throat for 4 quarters. Whatever the thing that you have to do to win in the sense of what puts your team in a position to win, that is your job as a coach. The reason why people are calling for him not to be the offensive coordinator, because it's seemingly as though you're not able to identify as an offensive coordinator the type of offense that you have to run. You have to run this. You cannot run anything else. We've been in this for 6-7 weeks. We've watched the stupidity of the calls that you have done that they don't execute. And you say, well, Arch doesn't have time. Arch doesn't have time. He doesn't have time because you keep calling stuff that they're not good at. Like, why is this hard? Football is not a hard game. It's the most simplistic thing.
Whoa. Say, he went off so much that he went off screen.
I'm back. I'm back, guys. All right.
Man.
Golly, bro. As you can tell, I'm extremely frustrated. I'm not absolving the offensive line. Listen, whatever they call, you have to execute. But god dang, man, can you make it easier on us? Can we just run power no pooler? Can we just run man blocking schemes where it's me versus this dude on a consistent basis? And can we see if this guy really want to go with me for 4 quarters? Like, what happens in the third when it's third quarter and we midway in the game and we've been leaning on yourself. I call myself Bobby. We've been leaning on you. We've been leaning on you for 2.5 quarters. All of a sudden, all of that, ain't going on in here. Ain't nothing. Now it's hand tackles. Now it's lack of effort. Now it's tapping on the helmet. I'm telling you the things that I have experienced and I've seen. And this is what happens to defense. Defense is emotional. When you start to impose your will on a defense, they quit. That is the best feeling ever for an offensive line. And it eradicates all of your problems. All of a sudden, now Arch has time. Why? Because they got dang tired. I've been trying to keep up with this run game and keep 1,500 pounds off of my butt. I'm tired. I don't want to chase anymore. Now the pass rush is not as aggressive. Now he has more time to hit open receivers. So I'm not absolving the execution of the Texas offense, but I'm also not absolving the ego and the arrogancy of Steve Sarkisian of not calling the things that work when you have a game plan formula on tape that shows you that we can do this type of thing to this type of defense that statistically was in top 5 in all major categories. Make that make sense to me. That's all I'm asking.
I think that Tony, you have sparked some conversation in the chat and probably across all of Longhorn Nation right now. Look, I think that what we all have to realize too is the one thing that I would say is that the offense against Oklahoma may not have been available to Texas at some level like it was against Oklahoma. Oklahoma didn't put 7 and 8 guys in the box at times. They tried to play 5. They tried to play 6 men in the box at most because they were going to just try to wear Texas out and make sure that they tried to beat him by dinking and dunking as opposed to the big plays that Sark normally likes. Whereas Mark Stoops, Tony, said, And once Arch made a couple of plays on the run early in the first quarter, he said, we're just going to heat him up and light him up, and kind of took a little bit of that away from Texas. So the question I have for you, you're the play caller or someone in that scenario, what does an offense do if the opponent has to, enforces you to change by different alignment, by going 7 and 8 guys in the box?
There's multiple things that you can do. There's this theory with a lot of offensive coordinators that say, oh, if we have an 8-man box, we can't run the ball. That's not true. That's called phone booth football. You motion receivers in to take the 8th man. You man block man to man. As a back, you make a guy miss. That's how explosive play happens. Here's the problem that a lot of offensive coordinators have, in my opinion, from the bad ones that I've seen versus the great ones, like the Sean Paytons of the world, like the Bruce Arians of the world. Those guys have patience and understand that this is a long game. So yeah, even though you have an 8-man box, I'm going to call 22 double. I'm going to call counter. I'm going to call trap. Why? Because even if I'm only picking up 3-4 yards, this is not about the amount of yardage that we're calling. This is about a mentality. I don't give a dang who you put in the box. We're going to make it happen. We're going to get 3. We're going to get 2. We're going to get 4. And then what happens is as the game continues to go on, Bobby, now you start getting 6, 12, 15-yard scamper. What happens is now play action becomes available because you're sending people in, right? And now their binding linebackers are coming up. And now guess what? Oh, my gosh, the tight end is wide open. There's easier passes, quick dump offs, sight routes, side adjustments, one-on-one matchups, right? But if you abandon the run game and you make yourself one-dimensional, if you're calling double, triple reverse passes, if you're calling swing screens behind the line of scrimmage, how does that make sense? I much rather take my time working an 7 and 8-man box and putting the mentality that if you give me 8 men, then we got to pick up 3 to 4 yards. If you give me 7 men, we got to pick up 5 to 6. That's a mentality. And the reason why I speak this way is because I've been a part of some of the greatest offensive lines that you've ever seen. In 2014, when I was with the Dallas Cowboys, we were rocking and rolling. We were first in every run statistical category. It didn't matter if you had a 7-man or 8-man box. Now, I understand people will say, well, that's a different type of thing. They know talent and professional. I get that. You're not understanding what I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to the mentality. Yeah. The mentality of physicality that Jerry is talking about, that can only happen if you call things that allow us to do that.
I mean, and this is kind of my soapbox. I'm not as passionate or say it like Tony Hill said. I didn't play the position at the NFL level. But that is in this league over time, if you don't have a physical identity within your offense on some level, you're going to have issues. Period. It can't be week to week. It can't be game plan to game plan. It's got to be an everyday and every week thing. And the sustained success. And yes, they have really good players. But did you ever ask if Nick Saban's offensive line and the way they played offense was physical? Yeah, they had 4 first rounders at wideout, but were they physical? Kirby Smart's physical. They have a physical identity in this league. If you don't have a physical identity in this league, good luck to you long term.
It's a West Coast. It's a Sark by his nature is West Coast, right?
Yeah,
West Coast style. And what you're describing is more the downhill style of running.
Correct.
That's where I come back with: do they have the personnel to do that? At some level, maybe they do on the offensive line. I don't know that they do at running back right now. And so anyways, they were able to move the ball on OU, I think in part because OU didn't line up and just blitz the ever living what out of Texas.
Yeah.
And Mark Stoops and those guys decided in the end of the first quarter, second quarter, let's just heat them up, put as many in the box as we can and dare them to run inside, and they never did. And when they did, it actually popped a little. Clark had a nice run. Wisner had a nice run, but they don't have. I think they worry that they don't have the personnel there to do it. We'll see.
You have to cook with the ingredients you got in the kitchen, man.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this is what you decide. This is you, and okay. So then now, okay, if I'm going with that theory, then now I have to start questioning the evaluation of how you evaluate players. Because you are the freaking University of Texas. There's not a player that you can't have. So if you don't have the bodies, now I have to understand how you evaluate players. And look, I understand that, our bell cow was Baxter and he's hurt. But guess what? He was hurt last year. So why wouldn't you not had a contingency plan in case somebody that has shown you that he might be a little injury prone gets injured in the season again? That's a part of evaluation. So who's missing the boat on that then? If that's the thought process. In my eyes, I believe that you have to play these young players and you have to give them an opportunity to get better. You have to not be afraid to run the ball into blitzes. Dude, I watched Tim Tebow say, I'm not going to throw this hot route. I'm just going to run around this cornerback. Like, I'm just using things of my reference to say, like, you can run in blitz formations. As a matter of fact, a lot of times good offensive coordinators will call run plays into blitzes because
those are your big plays. Those are your explosives.
Thank you. So I still have to understand, what is your reasoning, Sark? I get the game plan was different for Oklahoma, but I'm saying the mentality of that game plan is the thing that I'm speaking to. It was, we're going to line up and punch you in the face. Why do we go away from that just because they want to blitz or put 7 men in the box? Because what would happen is you pop them a couple of times, and when they continue doing it, it opens up things for Arch to be able to make quick adjustments in sight reads because he's not getting bum rushed and punched in the face for 3 quarters. He can sit back, step into the throw, and make it happen. Why? Because now you got the defense on what their proverbial heels. They don't know what's coming. But if I know all you're going to do is try to hit trick plays and swing routes and try to take deep shots, I'll call this stuff all day. The likelihood of that, those are low percentage win plays. I'm asking Sark to call higher percentage win plays, even at the expense of only gaining a couple of yards at the beginning of the game, because the football is a game of attrition. We're not an offense that's going to light up the scoreboard. Could we have a game like that from time or two? Yeah, if everything's hitting on all cylinders and the defense is off, yeah, we could probably have that. But historically, what we're going to do this year is going to be time of possession, controlling the line of scrimmage, and having this phenomenal defense that I pray we stop wasting, and this phenomenal special teams that we're getting a huge amount of upgrade from, execute. And we will win games, and we will win games soundly, 23-7, 22, 13. We'll win those games. But we will not win those games if the defense has to go play the offense and has to play against their own head coach because he's calling plays that make absolutely no sense.
So, Tony, let me ask you this. And I think I know your answer, but let's ask it anyways. If I said 1 or 2 things you want to see Saturday against Mississippi State from your eyes, what are they?
Offensively.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Run the ball north and south. Establish dominance early. Execute on pass protection. And that's not just offensive line. That's the entire offense. Run the right route. Hit the open man. Do the things that are being called to do. You guys are football players, man. You got to make plays. Listen, Arch, I get it. It's been a heck of a ride, man. Like you've been beat up, you've been ridiculed. I understand. You want to know what makes all of that go away?
Plays.
Offensive line, you have been totally dismantled as it pertains to people's faith in you and belief in you. And you want to know what makes all that go away? 200, 300-yard rushing games. Saying, my God, they displaced those guys all night. You want to know how you can help that narrative, Sark? By doing the things that these guys do best. Going this way, tight inside, wide outside zone. That's what y'all are. That is what y'all are. You don't need the trick plays. Yes, the offense will be vanilla. So what? The point is to win the football game. That's it. We need more points on the board than that other team. If being vanilla is what we have to do to achieve that, then so be it, man. Be okay with that. And if not, if you want to stay within the same thing and the same frame that you had in these past few years and the same type of offense that you've been calling when you know this offense cannot hold up in those particular situations? Well, sure prerogative. You're going to hear it from the fan base, I promise you.
A lot of truth to that. All right, Tony. Each and every week, you give us your prediction for the coming game. I don't know what you're thinking. You think Sark on Monday said that he's going to do some things different going forward. Okay, he said that point blank. Given that, he's likely to do some of what you talked about, in my opinion. North and south running, execute, smaller, higher percentage plays, that sort of stuff. What are your thoughts on this game and how you see it playing out for the Longhorns?
It's twofold. Just like everything in life, there's two sides. There's good, there's evil, there's up, there's down, there's left, there's right. If we can get Sark to understand who he has, what he has, and he calls the plays to their strength, I like in the way our special teams and defense is playing, I like a 20, 22, 23 to 9 type of thing. Maybe they get a couple field goals. They're not going to score. I don't see them scoring a touchdown at all. So like a 23-9, something like that. Woo. If we go out, well, and it's not just offense, right? I believe special teams cracks again. We get some things there. We execute on that. So it's all of that. Maybe get a pick six. We're due for one with all of the turnovers that we've had. We missed one in the OU game. So I think something like that comes into this to this game because offensively Mississippi State to me is not very good. Now, if you stay with the same madness that we've seen prior to Oklahoma, hell, I could see us another 16 type 13 game easily. I could see us in a dogfight with a team that in the first part of the game they're going to believe they can win. If you handle your business, they'll lay down. That's what I believe. I believe they'll lay down if you handle your business over time because they'll have a sense of despair. Like there's nothing that we can do that'll work.
They did against A&M, 200+ yards rushing.
That's my point, right?
Yeah.
But if you leave them in the game and you give them life like we did last week, they're gonna battle their tails off. And the thing is that when you give teams that are not good opportunity, they can beat you.
Yeah. All right, Tony Hills, thank you so much, buddy. We appreciate your time this morning on Coffee and Football. You have a good one.
Absolutely, you too. And remember, man, it's 9:15 and OU still sucks. Hook them, baby.
Got that one. Got that one.
All right, guys. Tell us about a couple of our sponsors before we get on to the next topic, if you don't mind.
That's right, Jerry. I'm going to let you tell everyone about Hargrove to kick things off.
Man, Tony Hills raised the roof. I don't know about fixing a roof. He raised the roof. Thank you very much to our friends over at Hargrove Roofing. Why did I go 90s? Tiger Woods raised the roof. With offices across Texas, including Austin, as well as Louisiana and Arkansas, Hargrove Roofing will take care of all your roofing needs. Plus, they're definitely Longhorn friendly with partners like former defensive tackle Stevie Lee. They're the most pro-burnt orange roofing company out there. That doesn't mean your roof's going to be orange, by the way, but they're definitely pro-burnt orange. No one wants to turn their home over to a company they can't trust, so call Hargrove today for a free, no-strings-attached roof inspection. Just call 512-645-3202. Hargrove Roofing. Know who's on your roof, and the people who will be on your roof are Longhorn friendly.
And let me tell you about Bubs. I love Bubs. It's great stuff. Bubs collagen peptides, that is. Collagen is the most abundant protein, and it's often referred to as the glue that holds our bodies together. Bubs helps restore collagen levels closer to what your body naturally had in its youth. It's unflavored. It makes your joints feel stronger, your hair and your nails grow healthier, and it makes your skin look smoother. My wife and I both use it. She puts it in her black coffee. I put it in a protein shake. You can't taste it at all. It mixes well with, just about everything I've tried, and it's absolutely great for you. There's no junk, zero sugars, zero sweeteners, zero fillers. It's from grass-fed, pasture-raised cattle, and it mixes seamlessly. You're going to love it. Live better longer. For a limited time only, our listeners are getting 20% off at Bubs Naturals by using code ONTexas at checkout. Just head to bubsnaturals.com. That's BUBS naturals.com. Use code ONTexas and you're all set. After you purchase, they're going to ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that OTF sent you. That's Bub's Naturals.
Hey, Blake, I want to bring up a question James Lee asked real quick. I'd start this. How should Longhorn fans be feeling about the Ratliff twins? Theo Ratliff's kids, 6'11", 7-footer, 2026. My pick is USC for them. There's a connection to Eric Musselman with the family. Texas never brought them in for OVs. Really good players. Really, really good players. I think because they're twins and Texas only wanted to go 2 or 3 high school players in this class. Bo Ogden's in the boat, Austin Gooseby, Texas, BYU, Duke. I feel pretty good about that. We'll see where it ends up. And then Texas is right there for Cameron Williams, the 6'11" future lottery pick, super skill out of Phoenix, St. Mary's. That's Texas, Duke, Arizona. Early on, it looked like it was Texas, Arizona. Now, Texas, Duke, Arizona. We'll see if it comes down to Texas and Duke. He had a really good visit. I'm not saying he's going to Texas, but that kid had a really good visit, and his family had a really good visit to Austin. So we'll see what happens. But I don't think – and I think the Ratliff twins are tremendous players. I don't think Texas wanted to go down the path of 4 high school players in the class.
Jerry, what's up with Austin Gooseby, Trevor Gooseby's younger brother?
Yeah, look, I think Texas is in a good spot there. I think he'll be going to see BYU again. Going to go watch a basketball scrimmage there against North Carolina. Is that Friday maybe coming up? And then he may be at the Texas Duke game. We'll see. Josh Howard's son just committed to Duke yesterday. So I think same positionally. I really think Austin's going to be Texas or BYU, and I think Texas is in a pretty good spot right now. We'll see what happens, though. Signing day is coming up in about 2.5 weeks.
I heard he was down in Austin again this past weekend, by the way.
Yeah.
Unofficial.
Yeah.
All right, well, we got some super chats.
I bet.
Start with Arch, a little Arch super chat here from Dante. He says WK9 and Arch is still a liability. When does Sark pull the plug? 44% completion is brutal after Mississippi State. Vandy, this Texas offense needs a switch now. And then Dante goes on to say, yeah, Arch isn't the only problem, sure, but he's a 5-star missing layups. Sark schemes guys wide open, and he still can't hit basic throws. Embarrassing.
There's an element of truth. I mean, look, you can't miss the throws he's missing. And I know he's under duress a lot. I get it. But if you there was some UTEP, not total UTEP moments, but there was a couple of UTEP moments in there for me in that game where those are throws to be a high-level quarterback you can't miss. And I believe it's largely mental. And the question is, how long does it go on, and when do you get over that? Because it's not a talent issue; it's a mental thing. So when do you get past that, or do you get past that, or how long it carries on? It may affect. Do you actually get over this? I'm getting to that point after 7 games because, again, the Kentucky game was there's just the throw to Jack injuries. The crosser, there's throws you have to be able to make at this level. If that's a similar performance against Mississippi State this Saturday, you probably lose.
Yeah, I mean, look, Dante's asking when.
Yeah.
And Jerry, you and I talked about this actually. We almost started talking about doing a video about when is Arch need to be pulled if he needs to be pulled. We talked about doing that, and the reality of it is there wasn't anything more for us to say. I mean, look, he's on the precipice of prove it or lose it at this point.
Yeah.
Is he not? I mean, they're 5-2, so it's not like they're 3-4. They're 5-2, but he needs to go prove it. The Jack injuries throw that Jerry mentioned is something that that throw has to be made every single time. You can almost understand missing a crosser to Ryan Wingo, even if it was a bad miss or a quick slant to Emmett Mosley, because he had just gotten blown up the play before, by the way, on the chin. You can understand some of those things. The missed Jack injuries can't happen. That was blown coverage. He was stationary. And so no matter what, you have to make those things. Otherwise, being durable, because Arch has been like, I was saying this by the way, and I said this privately yesterday. If Quinn Ewers was the quarterback of this team, the offense would be different. But if Quinn Ewers had taken as many hits as Arch has, Quinn Ewers would not be the quarterback right now at Texas, because Arch has taken some incredible hits, and his body's bigger than Quinn's. But just because you have that grit and determination, you actually have to perform on top of it. Now, we saw him do that against OU, but he reverted against Kentucky. That's not what you're looking for at quarterback at the University of Texas. So Arch absolutely has to perform better. I think that his starting job is on the line each and every week, and as it should be. Every player's should be, by the way. But we'll see when or if that decision is made. But if he has another outing like Saturday, I would not be surprised if something happens. I wouldn't. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Spank B with Super Chat says, I've seen Arch behind a good O-line last year and a young, bad O-line this year that snatched his confidence. Can y'all imagine Quinn behind this O-line?
I get the question, but the Ohio State game wasn't that. And I think that's what started the mental issues. And just something else that needs to be addressed, because I think it's an interesting question. Marky, why is it proven that Arch is a high-level talent, or is that my opinion? I mean, it's the opinion of Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney, and Steve Sarkisian. Nick Saban just can't be the GOAT when you want to agree with him. I mean, every quarterback he took ended up in the NFL. So, I mean, like Ryan Day said, the only reason we didn't recruit him is because he was in the South, and they knew he was going to stay in the SEC. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess all those guys are wrong. I think I saw what they saw seeing him in high school in person. He's a very talented kid. It's mental. He's got to get over the hump.
And then we got some regarding the offense. So I'm going to group a couple of these together. This one from Clay G3. Thank you, Clay. Play calling is not the end-all, be-all metric for success, but we have scored over 21 points in 7 of our last games against Power 4 teams. It might be time to change the philosophy sarcasm with his offense. And then we have another one here from Dartborg. Says Texas couldn't run the ball and had line issues in 08-09. Texas did not live on the deep ball. Why does Sark insist on having Arch hold the ball longer than 2.5 seconds?
I don't have that answer. I think that's what Tony Hill's just spent 15 minutes discussing in his own way. Look, I don't know that I would also say this. I don't know that there's a Jordan Shipley on this roster. There may be a Jordan Shipley on the roster, like DeAndre Moore may be good or even better than Jordan in some ways. The problem is not that. Okay. The problem with that is they don't have the relationship that Colt McCoy and Jordan Shipley had. Like, the only receiver that seems to have a symbiotic relationship with Arch Manning is Parker Livingston. Am I wrong? Anybody else feel like they maybe he sees some things and throws him open a little bit? Does he throw anybody else open?
Maybe DeAndre Moore a little bit.
A little, but that's my point. I mean,
not enough size, a sample size with him at Mosley, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not, but they've worked together for 2 years.
Right.
So I think that's a little bit you're asking the receivers to all of a sudden have some kind of, nuanced or contextual behavior. And right now they just don't. That's one of the reasons why the passing game looks off.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly.
Yeah.
And then another one regarding Sark here is from Jerry's Jack Link. Says, I've been wondering, is Sark too far removed from Saban at this point and maybe lost a bit of that fire and back to his old head coaching ways?
Ooh. is Sark resting on his laurels from last year or in the last couple of years? I don't think that's it. I think that Sark is probably genuinely surprised by how poorly his offense is executing. I think he thought they would be better at this time of the year, and now they're not. And so I don't think he's too far removed from Saban or even Pete Carroll. I mean, look, I've said this 100 times. Sark took more from Pete Carroll than he ever did from Nick Saban. I'll say it again if you want me to. He is more in that vein than he is Nick Saban. So I don't think it's been too far gone from Saban at all. I just think he's surprised right now by how poor his offense is. You have a head coach that's genuinely surprised.
Yeah.
Another super chat from Spank B. Switch gears here for a moment, but still on coaches. Was Shashard Choice slightly overrated as a recruiter?
I would say that his evaluation didn't necessarily pan out as well as he perhaps thought it would of Jarrett Gibson at this point. I mean, because he stepped over a lot of really good players to go after Jarrett Gibson, and Gibson could have been that inside running back for Texas that we're talking about missing, and Texas never seemed to find the spot for him, and he got fumbleitis, but we'll see. I don't think calling out Rashard Choice is the way, because he's also the one that picked Trey Wisner.
Right. I mean, look, you can't control injuries either, by the way.
Yeah.
Cedric Baxter's almost a freshman All-American player, right? Yep. You can't control injuries. I mean, again, Nick Saban sat there at the SEC media. He said Cedric Baxter was the best running back we played against in his last year at Alabama. Well, again, you can't control injuries, and you got to give people credit for Trey Wisner. Does anybody hit on 100%? I don't know. I probably not.
No,
but I think. By the way, that's recruiter and evaluation, and I know what he was asking. I want to make sure there's two different designations there. Shashard Choice is a recruiter, and as a relationship developer is about as good as it gets.
A1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have a few more super chats to get to, but first, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone about our sponsor today, Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm.
Absolutely. We really appreciate Adam. Give him a call if you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind. He's a personal injury lawyer there in Austin, UT Law School grad. He's been helping injured Texans for 20 plus years. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, or automobile accident of any kind and want a free, no strings attached consultation, reach out to Adam and his firm, LoweyLawFirm.com. That's LoweyLawFirm.com. Adam not only sponsors On Texas Football, he also sponsors numerous different pieces of the University of Texas athletic program. He has this, I think he still has this sign up inside the Irwin, or I said the Irwin Center instead of the movie. But anyways, reach out to Adam and his group again, LoweyLawFirm.com.
And another handful of super chats about the offense. Sugar Cane Daddy. Looks like Jimbo's offense. Every yard is a struggle. Thank you for your super chat, by the way. Jay Lee says, we moved the ball against OU because our offense showed up ready to play and acted like they wanted to be there. And then Daryl, thank you, Daryl, says the seed of doubt has been planted about Sark's play calling. How does he stop that from growing into the seed of doubt of his head coaching? Because we don't want to enter that world.
Wow, Daryl, that's a heck of a question. That's a heck of a question.
I don't think it is a heck of a question, but I don't look. I think he's I don't question Sark as a head coach, man. I don't. I mean, he's been to 2 national semifinals in the last 2 years. He's turned around a program to where now, and I was explaining this the other day. What's the difference between Tom Herman and Steve Sarkisian? Well, in Tom Herman's time, never did I ever think Texas was on the precipice of going to a national title or top 4 or 5 program in the country. With Steve Sarkisian, I do. I mean, they may not do it this year, but if they can keep these guys on campus, they're going to be good again next year. And so I think that questioning him and play calling, while some people can't separate the two, and his head coaching ability as a recruiter, as a program builder, I think are two different things entirely.
Yeah. So I want to bring this question back up because I think what he brought up is what makes it a great question is I don't think anybody is thinking that as a head coach, but he's saying, how does he stop that now from getting into his head? That is an interesting question because we talk about confidence with everything. Confidence can get shaky. And why I think that's a really good question is your offense that you wanted to run it's not working. And that's got to be kept here. It can't carry over to anything else. I think that's a really interesting question. And it's one of the questions about being a head coach and play caller. If something is going wrong, whether it's on your defensive side or your offensive side, you still have your head coach responsibilities, and you can't let those two kind of meld together in any way. That's why I thought that was a great question. I'm not saying I expect that. I just thought it was a hell of a question, actually.
And we got two more, fellas. Let's see. This one from Juan Garza. Blake, do you think that Tony Vitello to San Francisco or is going to San Francisco, and will Texas go after any Tennessee players? After what I heard this morning, I do think Tony Vitello does go to San Francisco, and it wouldn't surprise me if Texas goes after a couple of those players. So we'll see what happens.
Tony Vitello is the Tennessee baseball coach for those million. You're talking about the San Francisco Giants. We have to.
Yeah, sorry, I should have clarified.
Sport there, yeah.
All
right, Dante with another.
So he's going into the same division with Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers, right?
I think. I
hope he's getting paid well.
NL West, baby.
Hope he's getting paid well. Good luck with that.
Yeah. All right, Dante here with another super chat. Thank you again, Dante. Appreciate it. Jerry, from a recruiting standpoint, if you're a top wide receiver recruit, are you still considering Texas right now as a current wide receiver on the roster? Would you leave?
Well, I think there's a lot of different ways to look at stuff. I think recruits and their circles and the fans of schools look at things totally different, like game-to-game outcomes and stuff, unless you're just having an awful season and winning goes by the wayside and it's just all ugly. A lot of kids see opportunity. A lot of kids say, hey, I can go out there and be the guy. I mean, there's always that part of recruiting is opportunity. Then there's also the NIL part of recruiting, which is, recruiting in large part is transactional these days. So there's that as well. I think struggles over a period of time can affect you in head-to-head matchups in a future class against a team or coach or offense or whatever it is or position that's having a lot of success. The one thing that's made Ohio State very difficult to recruit against in wide receiver recruiting is those dudes are all dudes. It's like they all have been they line up a line of success that can be tough to deal with in recruiting. So, and if you're a freshman, look, that's to me is the one of the more interesting things in the NIL world is, do you live it, love it, or just like it? And does making a lot of money from NIL make you just like it instead of love it or live it? You look at a kid like Ryan Niblett, who wasn't a big NIL guy coming out of high school, but the stick-to-itiveness. I think NIL and the portal makes it development very short-sighted nowadays. And you have to, if you don't have patience in developing, then you're just going to start your vicious cycle. And that's the best way I can answer that. I think I could see people getting frustrated if you start to lose and then you feel like, man, I can help this team. What am I doing here? I get it. But I think sometimes the development piece, because of the portal and because of NIL, because people are recruiting you probably recruiting some guys saying, hey, come over here, man. We're going to do this for you and this for you. And it sounds so much better than where you're at, Bobby, if you're not playing. But there's still a development piece to this for these kids. But I think number one, I think the most difficult thing in college athletics, from my standpoint, looking at it right now, do you live it? Do you love it, or do you like it? And how does the NIL impact that? Because I do think that impacts the way you look at your development and the way you look at the portal and your situation. I think there's a lot of guys who, if they stick things out and just put their head down and develop, good things happen for them. But it doesn't mean all.
I would just say that what I would do is point directly to the last 2 NFL drafts. And it's not Sark or his offense that may be the issue with producing wide receivers. He's clearly done that.
We got a few more that just came in. We'll start with Rocky P. Thank you, Rocky. With the Taft injury, who is stepping into the role? Also, Jerry, rumor is that you were the Aggie staffer that told the player to fake it. That's a hefty fine to come out of your pocket.
Yeah, that was the first time I saw that was when somebody sent that to me. That was an interesting one. Who's stepping into that role?
Well, Derek Williams is going to start. But
who's going to be the communicator?
Saturday? Yeah, I don't know. Jelani McDonald?
Yep.
Going to have to be.
He has to be the communicator. To me, that's the biggest part of this. And that's not taking away from Michael Taft as a player in a game. But his biggest role, in a way, is making sure everybody's on the same page. And all these parts are going to work together. In his eyes, over the whole Texas defense when he comes off the field after a possession talking to the staff. Who's going to take on that role? And is Lebby going to attack the person there to see if he can create confusion?
Yes.
Yes is the answer.
Yeah, the answer is yes.
And then another super chat from Darkborg. Thank you again, Darkborg. Greg Davis was a better play caller than Sark at Texas. Greg at least modified his philosophy based on the players he had. Sims, Applewhite, Vince, Colt, all different offenses. Enough with Sark trying to square peg round hole.
There's some definitely elements there, but if you don't remember, I mean, Greg Davis was pretty adamant about his play calling until he finally said, let's change it with Vince, and that was halfway through a season.
Go meet with Rich Rodriguez and
I mean, that was a halfway through the season type of deal, and he was. I like Coach Davis. Don't get me wrong, but he clearly was pretty. What's the best word? Stubborn about his offensive style and retrofitting it, and then finally Vince was such a seminal player that he had to change it. And then with Colt, he did it again, but Colt actually fit more of what he wanted to do from the outset with his offense, in my opinion. So anyways, I digress. Sark does need to stop being square peg round hole. I would agree with that.
Real quick before you read that, some people are coming in the chat late asking what's up with Michael Taft. Thumb injury. That Bobby, the hope is to be back for the Georgia game, which is 3 weeks, counting the off week.
But we won't get the official report from the team until tonight.
Yes.
7:00. But yes. Also on the lookout for reports on Cole Hudson, the center. He missed last week's game. I think he'll likely miss this week's game, but I don't know if he's going to be ruled out at this point. And then also CJ Baxter, who practiced more in the last 2 days than he did the last 3 weeks. So,
and that's all about not having a setback.
Yeah.
With a hammy. It's about not having a setback. By the way, there was something real quick, because I do want to bring something up, because we were talking about Tashard Choice, and somebody asked about, hey, was Cedric Baxter was injured in high school? Should that have been part of the evaluation? Cedric Baxter only had a couple of things as nagging his senior year. But I mean, for people that don't know, I mean, his junior year, I mean, he ran it 200 times for 1,700 yards. He carried it 40 times. He carried it 32 times. He had 300-yard games. He was a very healthy player, and he had that little bit of the hamstring injury his senior year, which they held him out of 3 of those games because they were going to blow teams out and they didn't need to play him. But I mean, his junior year, he was a fully healthy, as healthy as you can be, carrying it 40 plus times in some games. He was extremely productive and healthy his junior year in high school. He started with the nagging thing his senior year with a little bit of the hammy.
Taylor Johnson has an idea. Thank you, Taylor. We should go back to orange jerseys, white pants, and tall black socks. That'll do it. Maybe. And then Parth Brooks with the final one of the day says, good morning from a hospital bed. Hope all is well, Parth.
Yeah.
That you're improving for sure. Kind of off subject, but OU Ole Miss game is big for the SEC playoff picture / margin for error.
Huge.
A 9-3 team getting in.
You think OU's getting Ole Miss at the right time after they just lost that kind of, not a heartbreaker, but they gave everything they had in that first half against Georgia and then still lost? You think OU's catching Ole Miss at the right time? Because I kind of do, Jerry.
Possible, but let's see how Oklahoma's offensive line against Ole Miss. If I'm Oklahoma, I'm concerned about it. But look, Oklahoma's won at home against good people.
That's what I would think too.
Yeah, but I think Oklahoma. Let's check the temperature on their offensive line versus Ole Miss this week. Because if they can't run the ball, now they ran it against South Carolina, but I mean, with their running backs. But how are they going to hold up against Ole Miss? I think it will be interesting. Their offensive line in that game. It's do you just go with the home team there? It's they're 4.5 point favorite. I don't know. Hey, Lane Kiffin's coaching for a lot right now, guys. More than wins.
All right, y'all. That's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I want to thank Adam, along with AG1, Prize Picks, Kirby Lane, Hargrove Roofing, and Bubs Naturals, all for sponsoring today's show. Bobby, what you got for everyone later?
We got a lot of stuff coming up. We got the state of the program. Myself, Rod, and Jerry going to get together, talk about it. Then we got Bigum's Bourbon Breakdown. That comes up this afternoon. Giving our predictions on this upcoming game with me, CJ, and Rod Babers. And then tonight, live stream again around 7:15. They'll be answering your questions. Our guys here at On Texas Football, as well as Amanda Atwell, who will be hosting. Please join us also over at ontexasfootball.com. Jerry, you have an Ask Me Anything going on right now over there that people are asking Jerry Hamilton anything they want to right now. Again, it's $39.95 for a year's subscription to ontexasfootball.com. It's the best deal you'll get out there anywhere. Recruiting, team news, etc., all on ontexasfootball.com.
All right, well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow. We hope you have an outstanding day today. And for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Welcome home.